My name's Brandon Elrich with Brandon Elrich is So Gay.
Wonderful.
And I am joined today by OnyxRose.
Hello.
And if you'd like to, introduce yourself or whatever you want to promote your
Yep.
publication or whatever, go ahead.
Okay. Hey there. My name is OnyxRose of OnyxRose9.substack.com. I also have a podcast called OnyxRose, A Journey Through FFS. And I assume that's what we'll be talking about today.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I've been going live every day. I plan on going live every day of December. And I don't always have a guest on, but I have all of this week, like Monday through Friday. I've I've had somebody on, but
Right?
and it's been fun so far.
Right.
And
Right.
with every person, I try to come up with something different. I'm not going to talk to every person about the same things. So
Yeah.
I'm
Or,
trying to vary the content and where they're from, their whatever traditions or whatnot. It just depends on what it is and what they do. So one thing I know you've been talking about in a lot of your videos is the FFS.
right.
And
Right.
when I reached out to ask you about it, I said, would you want to talk about that in one of my lives? And you said you would be happy to, or something like, I'm not a direct quote, but something like you agreed to do it.
I I definitely agreed to do it. There may be quite a few people who do not know what FFS is.
Right, right.
If you're not in the trans community specifically, you probably do not know. Um, but yeah, FFS stands for facial feminization surgery. It's a way for trans femmes, trans women, non-binary people who are femme leaning to go ahead and instead of masculizing their face, or if their face is already masculinized, to go ahead and feminize it. And it's not one procedure or one surgery. It is a set of procedures. So I don't know if that's one thing people know, but it can be anywhere from 2 to 3 procedures, all the way up to 8 to 10 procedures. I think that mine is going to be like 8 or 9 procedures. So
Okay, so I was going to ask if you knew beforehand, or do they don't know until they get into it how much it's going to take? Is that how it goes?
no, so that's no. What you have, the way it begins is with consults. So you find a surgeon, you schedule a time for a consult, and usually with surgeons, their consults you'll have to wait 2 months. It could be 6 months. It could be a year on out. For the uh, surgeons who are well known, they usually have consults that you have to wait a year for or 6 months for. Um, my surgeon, uh, while well known in the industry for celebrities and stuff like that, is not well known for FFS. Um,
Mm.
so he's done quite a few procedures or quite a few surgeries, FFS, but he's not well known yet. Um, he has done a lot of great work on a lot of trans women that I've seen and that I know. But like I said, he's local and people don't know him just yet in the trans community. But so I had a consult pretty quickly. My consult was 3 months before surgery. 3 months before, well, 3 months before about a month ago, so 4 months. And with the consult, you sit down and it's more like an interview. You interview each other. You talk about maybe what you want, what you expect out of FFS, your goals, and then you talk to the surgeon. You want to know if he or she or they are good enough, or how they perform surgery, how many they've performed, um, how they go about it. And then it's just a brief looking at the face, and they'll just say, okay, but my surgeon required a CAT scan, and that's becoming more and more popular nowadays. Beforehand, it was just an X-ray or nothing at all. They'll just be like, let's go, let's just do it. But nowadays it's become more common to have a CAT scan and less common to just have an X-ray. So you get a fuller look at the bony structure of the face and neck. That is what is being worked on with facial feminization surgery. So So with the consult, then you have, well, we when I said okay, and I don't want to give too much away about my surgeon, but the first time me and Egg saw the surgeon, he had a God complex. A lot of surgeons have what I consider to be a God complex,
Yeah.
and you have to have one to be a surgeon. You have to have a healthy amount of um, God complex, for a lack of better term. And he was kind of standoffish. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to go with him. My goal was to be able to have FFS by the end of this year, because I have met my out of pocket maximum, and that makes it a lot cheaper. So that is why that was the push for making it this year. I could have gone to two other places. I could have gone to San Francisco or New York City. Um, and in San Francisco, people who are in the community will know who I'm talking about in San Francisco. They will also know who I'm talking about in New York City. There are several doctors in New York City, but there is one who does great work. Well, maybe two do great work on Black, brown, trans, and non-binary people. Um, and so I was actually going to go with them, uh, one of them, but the expense to get there, stay there for 7 days, lodging, food, having Egg be my soul nurse. It just wasn't going to do it. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
yeah, no,
I feel like there are a lot of doctors who don't have a very good bedside manner, and I guess that kind of goes along with the God complex kind of thing, Especially I think with surgeons, it seems like because a lot of times their patients are under anesthesia, so they don't really have to, communicate a lot with them during the whole process. Maybe the consultations and things like that, but
right.
I don't know if that's like I I wonder if that's like a higher intelligence kind of thing, like somebody who's really intelligent seems to have trouble relating to people on a personal level sometimes.
I agree with that. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think that my surgeon is like that. He was number one in his class. He graduated number one, and he's sure to let you know that. 100%.
Oh
He will
yeah,
do
yeah,
that immediately. And it's on his website, So like his whole schooling history is on his website, and it's impressive. It is
yeah,
impressive. So he he deserves all the accolades he gets. He works a lot with celebrities, whether in the movie or music industry. Atlanta has a very big movie and music industry.
right,
Um, so the celebrities will come for a little nip tuck,
yeah,
not necessarily FFS or anything like that, but plastic surgery. So
right.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm kind of curious if they do any kind of um like computer generated projection of what it could what it could look like like before and after kind of thing, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
I've seen that kind of thing on TV, like with plastic surgery and stuff like that. I don't know if it's the same.
So my surgeon did not do that. Now, instead, what we did was with the CAT scan, we went over everything, what he was going to shave down, where he was going to
Yeah,
bring it in, what he was going to take out. So in that sense, we did kind of do that.
yeah,
But he did not do the markings or anything like that. Now that I think is going to come the day of surgery, where they
yeah.
will face, take measurements, all of that good stuff. Yeah. So I
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Okay. So, how how did you come to this decision? Like, how long have you been thinking about it, and what, finally put you
So
over to?
I've been thinking about this since 2013. Um, I started in 2013 just with a dream. I would love to get this, but the surgeons I was looking at that point, honestly, they didn't take insurance. And I'm going to just throw out a number here, and you may be surprised, but we're talking about close to $100,000 for the top surgeons. And I was looking at them. So I was like, okay, this is unrealistic. Let me drop down a bit. And I dropped down a bit, and they were still like $50,000, and they weren't taking insurance at the time. So, you
Yeah.
know, I decided to just put that off. In the meantime, I got a couple other gender affirming surgeries. I got what's called an orchiectomy, which is the surgical removal of the testicles, and then I got bottom surgery. So, those were a couple of gender affirming surgeries I had. I was Egg was my nurse for both of those. Um, and for those of you who don't know, Egg is my wife, my partner, my main gal. And so she's my nurse again for this surgery. Um, the FFS thing has been in my head for a long time. I've researched a lot of surgeons, pretty much every surgeon that was out there between 2013 and 2016. I researched, I consulted with three or four of them. Um, the money for me wasn't there. There were a couple of surgeons that I just did not like right off the bat, right off the rip. So I was just like, let me not go to them. There are a couple surgeons on the East Coast. I live in Atlanta. So there are a couple surgeons on the East Coast, up and down the East Coast. There are actually more than a couple who are good. There are some that are not so good. I've heard tales about some, about others, not so much. So I've been looking, like I said, since 2013. The money just wasn't there.
Yeah.
It wasn't the money thing, it was the insurance thing, it was all of that put together. Um, so the once I got good insurance, I've always had good insurance because I've had insurance under A. Um, But, for a while, insurance companies like, can I say insurance companies' names on here? Aetna. Aetna wasn't covering Aetna wasn't covering gender affirming surgeries.
Mhm.
It seemed like my insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Anthem, was covering everything. I was on Blue Cross
Okay.
Blue or Aetna, and they were covering surgeries. I just wasn't ready for I did things kind of backwards. People like to work on their face first because that's what you see. And
Yeah.
then and then the other surgeries second, third, fourth, so on and so forth. Um, I went the opposite way. My dysphoria was so heavy uh, on the bottom side. I needed bottom surgery because my dysphoria was that bad. Like it was, kind of like I hate to say it, like slice it off or like, not be around anymore. So um it was that was a rough time. But back to FFS 2013, 2014, 2015, all through those years, I looked and looked and looked. 2016 came. I almost had the money, but that fell through. 2017, I had my orchiectomy. 2018, I had bottom surgery. No, 2018, I had my orchiectomy. 2019, I had bottom surgery. And then I started in vain, for real, looking for an FFS surgeon. Um, I interviewed with or consulted with two in New York, one in San Francisco, one in Arizona, and like I'm trying not to give these people's names away,
Right.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, I the one, and I've I was told to stay away from several, so I did. You know, what it all boiled down to this year is that, and what it all boiled down to for the previous years was whether I could meet my out-of-pocket maximum, so the cost would be less, and whether I could get it squeezed in by the end of that year. That had never been the case, so I would have had to pay more, and that's what always stopped me. The fact that I met my out-of-pocket maximum really early this year in June, and then I consulted pretty soon after that, consulted with my surgeon, and and that's where we are now. Um,
Yeah, I can imagine that, like the money and the insurance would be one of my I mean, I'm very practical, so I always think about, you know, money and everything, and uh, so that would be one of my top concerns, I guess. Is this even feasible? But yeah, so 2013, you said you were started looking.
ye-
When when did you actually come out as trans?
oh, so I ca- well, so I came out starting in 2008, and then went back in the
Okay.
closet and became like really manly. Grew a man beard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did all the masculine things. I had some biceps. I was really flexing the male complexion. I really went back into the closet. Then I came back out again. And this whole time I was reading books, looking online, trying to find anything I could to justify me. You know, being who I thought I was, not understanding like how could I feel like this, but I obviously look like this.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a mind fuck, especially, and I don't know if anybody anybody who's trans in any way or non-binary, it's a mind fuck because you're like, why do I feel this way? And nobody gives you the framework. The framework is just male and female, man and
Right.
woman. Oh, so for people on the binary, it's and cis hetero people, I should say, cis hetero people on the binary and regular and just cis people. No, cis people don't think about their gender. They don't think about their gender in regards to, is this the right gender for me?
Yeah.
Trans, it's something that is just innate. Like, why do I feel this way? Or I know that I am this. I know for a fact that I am supposed to be a woman. I know for a fact that I'm supposed to be non-binary. But these people keep treating me like I'm a boy or treating me like I'm a girl while I'm supposed to be the other. Or not or neither. And so I went to rehab in 2012 for substance abuse. My Aggie said I had to go or else she was going to divorce me. So I did go. And actually, that it was the best thing because it saved my life. I was spiraling downward very fast. And what we found out is I had a manic episode while in rehab. Um, and that led to my bipolar diagnosis. I had been diagnosed before, but without any proof, because nobody saw my manic episodes, nobody saw my depressive episodes except for Egg. So without any proof, like medical proof, they couldn't say anything until they saw it again. So while in rehab, I did have a manic episode. And, from that point, I was having group sessions, group uh, therapy with my psychiatrist, and therapy with a supposed family therapist. Um, this family therapist I had never met before, Egg had never met before. But we were sitting in the room waiting for this person to come in, like start our family therapy. This was our first family therapy session, because honestly, Egg had no idea. She just thought it was therapy because I was in a manic episode, and and because of my addiction. And so the family therapist comes in and says, let's talk about your being trans. And he didn't say being trans, he said being transsexual. That at the time, transsexual was the way to say it. It
Yeah.
was gender.
Right.
So yeah, so let's talk about you being transsexual. And Egg's mouth hit the floor, her jaw hit the floor. My jaw hit the floor. I was like, what, what the fuck are you talking about? And so that led to me actually coming out, for good.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, you know what? I can't pretend anymore. I shaved my manly beard. I stopped acting in a way that people would consider manly, all of
Yeah.
that and it's kind of dropped away. And um I started looking for my tribe, for people like me. I came across this book called True Selves, and I'm shouting it out. I just don't remember the author's name. There are two authors, but if you look up True Selves, that is the name of the book. I don't know if it still holds up today. I know that they've revised it, so maybe it does. But when I read it, it was like a lightning bolt. It truly was. It was describing me to a T. So I was like, this is it, this is actually it. So in 2012 or 2013, um, I found a group online, and I won't say their name because it was a web board to begin with. And now it's a Discord. And we started with like 400, 500 people. And now there are only 89 of us. But I've known these people since 2013. So we have tight bonds. I've actually met several of them in person. Like we live all over the world, Germany, Australia, Scotland, some parts of the United States, blah, 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 blah. So being able to meet these people in person and like talk has been great. Um, but that was the beginning of my journey. I had to do what was called a real life test. And back then they pretty much made you do it. And the real life test is basically dressing in your chosen gender. Um, Even though you aren't taking any hormones or anything like that. So, you still have like facial hair and like you're trying to shave
Yeah.
it. And, it just, you look really strange, walking around like still in the male meat suit, trying to wear like women's clothing. It's just awkward. And I'm glad they've gotten rid of the whole thing. Um, I assume they have. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's really ridiculous. And let me just say one more thing. Gatekeeping is a big thing in the trans community. It should not be, but it really is. Um, in order for me to get my hormones, I had to get a letter from my therapist and my psychiatrist. I had to get two letters. And each one of those letters was $150. And then I had to see them for at least 3 sessions. Those were 3-hour sessions
Oh,
at $50. So you see the amount of money you pay just to get started, the amount of money you pay just to start transitioning is ridiculous, at least back then. I don't know if it's changed so much now. Like there are therapists called gender therapists, and the gender therapist is specialized, of course, in gender. So they know the way to talk to a patient, a client. They know and they understand gender and all that goes along with it and transitioning. So uh, the insurance companies were not paying them out. They could not get money back from the insurance companies. So most gender therapists just stopped taking insurance. And that's why the money started racking up like $150 here, $150 there. I was going to a gender therapist for 2 days a week. And so that was $300 a week. It was insane. The amount of money that we spent on therapy is I could have bought a car, I could have bought
yeah.
like down payment on a house. But so that's the the beginning of my like going into like discovering my true self, as they say, is was that. And, the impetus, the pushing of me was the family therapist who outed me. And from
Yeah.
that I was like, I can't go back in the closet. If I do, I will kill myself. And I at that point, Egg did not understand that. Um, but it was at that point that divorce was being started talking about. And we went through a three so we've been married for 21 years, been
Oh,
together for 23 years. Yeah, yeah. We've been together a long time. So in the middle, she started talking about divorce, and that was right when the family therapist came out and said that. She had no idea what being trans meant. She had no idea what trans people or who trans people were or what they were about. So consequently, she didn't have anything. She didn't know who I was and what I was about, and she thought that everything that she knew about me was a lie, and that everything that she knew about me had changed in that instant. When in that instance, but it didn't. So um,
yeah. I
after,
wanted to go back to what you said something earlier about cis people, especially cis straight people. They don't understand. Like, if you were to, if sometimes they'll ask like, well, when did you decide you were gay or whatever, and
right,
they don't quite get that. And you can turn the question around on them and say, well, when did you decide to be straight?
right,
And they can't answer. It's like, well, I didn't decide to. It was just natural for me to be attracted to the opposite sex. Like, well, that's the same with being gay. I didn't just one day decide, you know what? I think I'll like guys from now on. Seems
right.
like it
Let me just
seems
try
like
this.
something I want to try. I mean,
Right.
that seems like a good idea. No,
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like, why would I decide? I mean, because you see how hard it is sometimes to be
right,
in certain areas and stuff to be gay. Why would
right,
you decide to do that? Why would you
right.
make that decision if you didn't
No,
already, if you weren't attracted to guys, for me, if I weren't
right,
attracted to guys already, it's like, why would I change my life to be more difficult and, to go through all that stuff? Yeah, but I don't know why. Some people just don't, you know, they
it,
can't empathize.
right. There's the word is empathize. There's no empathy. It's like, well, and that's what's going on in the world today. There's no empathy. They don't
Yeah,
really care. They just wake up and they're just like, okay, I'm supposed to be this man. I need to, do all this in school. I need to then date this woman. I need to settle down, have kids, and like you said, the white picket fence. I remember y'all talking about that one day. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and that was honestly never on my radar ever. And I feel sorry for Egg because that was on her radar, although she didn't tell me at the time. So we had a lot of miscommunication. It was just a lot of miscommunication. We weren't being 100% honest with each other.
yeah,
So yeah, yeah. But the fact that people would be like, why did you decide to be gay? Or, why did you decide to be trans? And I got that from my parents. My parents were like, why did you decide to be trans? Why are you doing this? I'm like, well, I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm not doing this to hurt anybody. I'm doing this so that, well, I'm not going to hurt myself. If you want me alive, I have to do this. And that is something that they didn't understand, and that is something a lot of people don't understand, is that trans people are not doing this to hurt anybody. We're doing it to make sure, I mean, anybody else. We're doing it so that we make sure we don't kill ourselves.
yeah,
And it let me just pop back to now with the laws that are being enacted. There are going to be a lot of dead trans people. Um, And that is just the sad fact, you know. The and people don't care. The makers of the laws, they don't care. They don't care that I think they want dead trans kids. Um, and that's sad, you know, like it breaks my heart. But that's, yeah, that's the situation right now. Yeah, well,
Yeah, and that goes back to again empathy. I mean,
right.
it seems like we have such a lack of that in today in the country. And I was saying I've said this several times that I think empathy should be taught in school
It should
and
be
to children. You know, they need to learn from a young age to empathize and under to have some kind of at least attempted understanding of what other people are going through, and you know, not look at them as not look at themselves as like I'm in it for me. I'm the only one that matters. You know,
right. Right. I saw a meme and I keep on posting it every time it comes up. And it's about a group of kids who are in elementary school, maybe middle school, and they're at McDonald's. And, like a parent is watching them and talking to another parent, and they're like, "What are these kids doing?" And so one of the parents goes up to them and says, what are y'all doing?" And they say, "We're practicing pronouns, so that when we talk to this kid in school who is obviously trans or non-binary, that we'll have their pronouns right." And that is the empathy we need. That is a very good case of empathy. These kids, they're just kids, but they just want to make sure that this other kid is treated with respect. And,
right?
that's beautiful. It's beautiful. Um,
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. I kind of got off track, I think.
let's jump back into
I was,
this.
yeah, I was like, I went back to the cismet because I related to what you were saying, and I was like, I wanted to go back to that, but then I don't know where you were when I interrupted.
Oh, well, no, I'll pop back into FFS. So, like I said, FFS is a group or a set of procedures. The and you can get anything from like a nose job, rhinoplasty to like chin and jaw work. And just to keep it 100, these are not just trans surgeries. There are a lot of cis people who get rhinoplasties. There are a lot of
Right,
there are a lot of cis people who get genioplasties and sliding genioplasties. Sliding genioplasty is where they take care of the jawline, and genioplasty is where they take care of the chin. So there are a lot of people who get these for various reasons. There are a lot of people who get lip lifts or, work on lips, maybe cleft palates. There are a lot of people who get plastic surgery for various reasons. It's just that when it becomes a trans person reason, then it becomes stigmatized. Like, oh my God, this trans person, but
yeah,
they forget to say, oh my God, this cis hetero person got a nose job and cheek implants and lip fillers and, Botox, and take the eyes and make sure they're not wrinkles underneath them or bags underneath them. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, you're getting FFS, it's facial feminization surgery. Maybe not facial feminization surgery, but facial surgery, like plastic surgery. Um, my facial feminization surgery is just that. Like I am having either 8 or 10 procedures, between 8 and 10 procedures. It's going to take 12 to 14 hours. Yeah. So I will be under anesthesia for 12 to 14 hours. And that is a clip. It's a long time. I have never been under anesthesia that long. The longest I've been under anesthesia has been 7 hours. Um, and when I woke up from that anesthesia, the first thing I saw was like very bright lights, and what looked like an alien. And that scared the
yep.
shit out of me. So I thought I was being operated on by an alien. Uh,
I've been abducted.
yeah, abducted, like it just being operated on. So I passed out, and when I woke back up, the anesthesia was pretty much worn off, and I was good. So I'm expecting something of that nature to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, Yeah, just getting
So
ready
you said 12 to 15 hours or something like that. Is that what you
before
said?
hours. Yeah.
Okay. So will you have all of your FFS done during that time, and or you won't go back for
So
anything else?
yes, all of my procedures will be done at once. There is a new way of doing it where they do half of the face, and then 6 months when maybe it's healing a little bit better or a little bit more, they'll do the other half. So they'll do the top half and then do the bottom half, or they'll do the bony parts and then the fleshy parts. A lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, the people I know who've had it seem to like it like that. I don't, because honestly, I don't want to have to go back under and do this again. Now, the problem with
Yeah.
the problem with one and done is that you may have to get a revision, and that's even with two and done too. There's like high rates of revision work, and that's usually because people don't like either how their nose is looking or the symmetry is off, and so there needs to be some work to make the symmetry symmetrical. But yeah, that that's the yeah. Um, uh,
I could see the appeal to the one and done part, because yeah, I would think like I'm going through all this mentally, emotionally, everything, preparing for the surgery and everything, and then you go through it, and then you you have to do it all again. I mean, even though it's a different surgery, you're basically preparing yourself in the same way. I mean, you're still emotionally and mentally and everything. You're preparing to go through it all again. I would
right.
think there would be an appeal to being like, okay, let's just do it all at once and just get it done.
Right, and that's where I am. I'm like, "Please, just do it all at once." I have trust in my surgeon that he's going to be able to do it all at once. He's done this before. He's used to working, 12 to 14 hours, and that is something that I quizzed him on. I was like, how long have you done surgery?" He's done surgeries for 16 hours, 17 hours. And, of course, he's gonna take a break. That does not mean he's gonna take, like, a 30-minute, 45-minute break and just chill. He's gonna take like a 10 or 15-minute break to use the bathroom, get some food, get some hydration, and then he's gonna be
Yeah.
back. And, of course, the anesthesia, like the rest of them, they'll all be in the surgical unit, where I'll be making sure that my numbers don't drop or anything crazy like that. So, I the preparation for surgery, is where the nerves are coming in for me, all of the work preparing for it. And I need to tell you the story, if I can, really quickly about how surgery worked, how we got the call about surgery. So we had basically understood, and they told us, my surgical team told us, there was no way they were going to be able to get me in before the end of the year. The hospital that I was going to just didn't have enough beds. By the end of the year, people are trying to get their surgeries in because a lot of people have met their out of pocket maximums. I was unfortunately I was on the low end of that in terms of a bed. So me and Aggie just said, okay, well, we're going to England, Scotland, Wales, in 2028. Let's just concentrate on getting the money there for that. I was like, okay, I was a little upset. I was a little down, but I was like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and do this. So we had prepared for not having FFS again. And I was like, well, I was like, I don't need it this year. Maybe I can get it after 2028. That was the plan. I was in my voice therapist's office, and I'm not using my real voice now. I'm using my old voice. But I was in my voice therapist's office, and you know, I got a text from my surgical team that said, "Congratulations! Your surgery date is December 11th." And I was like, "Oh shit!" So I was freaking out. I sent
Yeah.
I called Egg and said, "I am going to send you an email. You need to read it right now, but do not call me back." Because I was getting ready, and don't text me back because I was getting ready to go in. And so I went in, I talked to my therapist, and me and my voice therapist are good friends. He's a great guy. I want to shout him out. His name is Woody, and he's a great guy. If you're ever in Atlanta and need a voice therapist, Woody. Yep, just remember Woody. But I had to tell him immediately. He was extremely happy for me. I was extremely happy myself. It was hard for both of us to concentrate on the lesson that day. But I got back home. No, I got in the car with A because she came to pick me up, and she was freaking out, and I was freaking out. We were both happy. And then, of course, we were let down when they said it's not going to be this year because we can't get a bed for you. My surgical team, when I tell you my surgical team is badass, the whole office, they're badass. They pushed hard and they found another hospital that was within my insurance to take me. And as December 11th, so close to the end of the year,
Yeah.
as you know, but yeah, December 11th. So it's at a different hospital. It's a clip away from where I live, compared to the hospital I was going to go to. But that's okay. They were able to get me in, and and that allowed me to have surgery December 11th. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wanted to pause for a second and just tell you there are a few people in the chat that are
Oh,
um, giving you some love. There's Hillary Merrick said, "That's scary. That's a lot of work and a lot of time to be under." We were talking about the anesthesia. I'm sending
yes.
you so many healing vibes right now and hoping that everything goes well for you.
Thank you
And
so
be
much.
under. We were talking about the Eileen said, "Thank you for sharing your journey, Onyx. The surgery sounds intense." Yeah, and it does. And
Yes.
I can imagine, like, when you got the news that it was bumped up, that from 2028 to now, basically, that's like, whoa.
Right.
I that it seems like that would be a lot of stress. I mean, I guess you were happy about it, but then there's also like you kind of, I don't know, when something's farther away out, you're like, okay, I just don't, I'm just not going to worry about it for a while, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh,
Yeah, it was from we'll just do it after 2028 to we're going to be doing it in 3 months, 2 months.
yeah,
The turnaround, it was scary and crazy. Like, we have been getting stuff like, all the medical equipment we need, all the like gauze and sterile stuff that we're going to need, getting ready, preparing foods like smoothies, and not preparing them now, but getting protein shakes and jellos and things that I'm going to be able to eat the first couple of days after the surgery, because I'm going to have sutures in my mouth, sutures all along here because I'm getting a face and neck lift. I will have sutures under my nose because what they do is make a cut here and take out about a centimeter of flesh and then stitch it back up. So I will always have a small, faint scar there. So
okay,
I'm gonna have to get on my makeup game. I am good with makeup now.
yeah,
I need to get a little bit better.
yeah,
I will have an incision right here, which is where they pull down the face. I like to say stuff like that because people don't understand, but yeah, that's where they pull down the face and then work on the bony parts. And they'll be shaving them down. I will get like my suborbitals and orbital regions smashed. And repositioned and put back together. Yeah, I'll have titanium
yeah.
plates in my head.
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, that definitely sounds intense. And for those, some people joined late, so for those of you who are have come in later, we're talking to OnyxRose about facial feminization. Or do I have the F's mixed up? Facial feminization surgery, or is it the other way around?
Facial surgery, yes. Facial
Okay,
feminization.
okay,
Oh, I'm just going to the chat real quick. Okay. Um, yeah, perfect. Okay, so the facial feminization surgery, like I said, is several procedures. I will be having rhinoplasty, so they're just going to smooth out the nose a little bit and make it tilt upward. The upward tilt is more common in feminine people as opposed to masculine people, or and the way we say in the community as is assigned female at birth or assigned male at birth. So that we're not saying, well, this guy or this girl, nothing like
Hmm.
that. Yes, I was assigned male at birth, but honestly, I was never male, So, the assigned male at birth is how it is. But being assigned male at birth, I had to go through puberty, and going through puberty, there are certain things that happen. Um, you know,
Yeah.
uh, and so all of the things that happen in puberty during puberty, I have to correct. Now, things like the facial hair, I had to have electrolysis. And electrolysis, if you don't know anything about electrolysis, is painful. They have to use a needle. They put it into every follicle of your face and kill the hair at the root. It has. I've already spent at least $10,000 on that, and I'm not done. Um, but
Mm.
that's not the FFS part. Facial feminization part is, they will work on my jaw, so they're going to take out a piece of jaw bone, a piece of chin bone, I'm sorry, and replace it with a titanium plate and kind of squeeze it together so that it's fused, and then that will grow. They're going to do my nose, as I said, and do the lip lift. So my lip will lift up a bit, and there'll be less of a distance between the bottom of the nose and the top of the lip. So the philtrum, that area, is a little bit shorter in people assigned female at birth. So that's what we're going for on that. Um, the the head right here, this little part, and if you can see my brow ridge, it's not necessarily flat or like domed. Uh, People assigned female at birth, they don't have, for the most part, do not have this like bony growth right here.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Like
right.
the bump there kind of that comes out.
Right, right. Like this, like you can feel it right here as it goes along. And so what we're going to do is basically smash that up and then kind of reconstruct it so it's smooth, or so it slopes a little bit. It probably won't slope all that much, because of puberty and how things have grown in, but it will be smoother. And my eyebrows will probably be raised a bit. Giving my eyes a more youthful appearance, a more assigned female at birth appearance. Basically all the things that age and puberty have made me go through. I'm getting kind of reversed.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So, uh,
So you said the 11th is when it's scheduled.
the 11th,
That's coming up
yeah.
pretty quick. So how are you feeling as far as your anxiety and emotions and mental state and all of that?
So I need to preface all this by saying I just popped out of a manic episode in September. I am now stable, but it took a long time and a lot of medication and I did a lot of damage from March to September of this year. Um, Still working on taking care of that,
Yeah.
but you know the yes. After I came out of that manic episode, everything started to fall into place about FFS, and then it stopped, and then it started again. So the nerves have been low up until about this last week. And this last week, things have been ramping up. We had one more consult about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, with the surgeon and with my surgical team, where they took pictures. They gave us the last rundown. It was the pre-op surgery, where they told us what was going to happen, blah, 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 blah. But the good thing about that is my parents actually came, and me and my parents have not had the best relationship, since I came out. Um, we didn't talk for 2 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of trans people, unfortunately, that is the case, and it was
Yep.
the case for me. So, me and my family. Um,
I think
my
that's the case with a lot of people in the queer community in general.
unity, yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's yeah, you're right. It's not just restricted to trans people. It's all queer people. And that's not to say there are no families who support their queer, sisters, brothers,
Oh
daughters,
yeah.
sons, wives. There are, but as a majority and as a whole, there are not. Um, Eileen, really quickly, yeah, electrolysis is really time consuming. I have done this for so long. I think I started electrolysis in 2014. So yeah, we're still going strong. Um, but yeah, so um, the the anxiety is I talked with Egg about it today right before we got on earlier, and we talked, I try and check in with her to see where she's at, because she's going to be my main caregiver. So she did say that her inner anxiety is a 5 right now. And that's about right. That's about right for both of us. um
Well,
that's
I mean, to me, I would think that's not bad. I mean,
uh,
I
it's
can
not
imagine that mine would be probably higher than that. And I mean, obviously it's understandable when it comes closer to time that the anxiety is going to be amped up a little bit. But I mean,
it,
that doesn't sound so bad as far as
well,
what I would imagine.
it's not, and I'll tell you why, because we've been through this twice. Now we've never been through FFS, but we've been
Right.
through 2 gender affirming surgeries,
Yeah.
and with each surgery, Egg had to take care of me. So I call her Nurse Egg. She has to put her nurse hat on. And honestly, if she wanted to be a nurse, she could have been. If she wanted to be a fucking surgeon, she could have been a surgeon. Um, she's just that badass. So shout out Egg. She's in the other room. But yeah, she'll have to be my nurse again. So I like to check in with her to see where she's at. And I need for her to be honest with me. Where is your anxiety? What do you have anxiety about? Is there anything that I can help ease that, before we go in? And of course, there's not really much I can do for her in terms of easing it, except for saying, that everything should be okay. Um, the day of surgery, she's going to take me to the hospital and drop me off. When they wheel me back to the unit to get started, she is going to leave because I don't want her there for 12 or 14 hours, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
expect
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of
this
what would be the point of sitting there and just
worry.
I would think being in a hospital environment too would make you more worried just sitting there the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yes, yes. So, she's gonna go home. Like, we have a river near us, and she's probably gonna take a walk along the river, get something to eat, just hang out with Nix, who's our little black pug. And then, my guess is that she is either going to come back later that night, later in the evening to the hospital just to see me after I've gotten into recovery, or she's going to and then go home again. So once again, this is going to be about a 45-minute route. Oh, did I lose you? There you are.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. Kind of
oh,
cut out for a second. Yeah.
okay. So it's a 45-minute round trip. I mean, not round trip. It's a 45-minute trip one way, 45-minute trip the other way. So she'll probably stay for about an hour or two and then go back home because our pug has to use the bathroom. He's not used to staying at home by himself at night. So, she'll do all that. And then she'll come back in the morning. And that's really when it begins. All the stuff begins is when she comes home. I mean, when she comes back in the morning, because the surgeon will come and they will release me. Now I'll be all bandaged up. I'll have bandages here and bandages across here. So I'm going to look like a mummy and my face will
Yeah.
be swollen. Apparently they like slather your face in some type of petroleum jelly or something like that. Um, so I'm going to look pretty, and I'm going to have her take pictures all the way through because we're documenting this. But I'm going to look pretty freaky, and I'm ready for that. I actually can't wait to see the pictures. I'm going to go live like as soon as I can after the
Oh yeah,
surgery, and I may be like blah 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 blah, but it'll be fun. I will have pictures that, of course, I will put up on Substack and YouTube, OnyxRose 9 at YouTube, and that, and yeah, so that'll be fun. That probably be fun, but that's when the real work begins. The surgeon's work is the surgeon's work. The healing is going to be my work and Egg's work, and we don't
yeah.
want to. I'll come home with like drains in my face, and she'll have to empty the drains. We'll go back to the surgeon's office the day after, and then I think 6 days after that. So the seventh day, we'll go back, and there'll be staples in my head to hold my face together. um,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're gonna have to get the staples removed. And I hear that's incredibly painful. So there are things I'm not looking forward to, and one
Well,
of the
yeah,
yeah, and one of these is the pain. I'm not
yeah.
looking pain. And I will probably be a real bitch, and I'm gonna try not to be. So because there's only so much Egg can take. She's gonna throw shit down and just walk out. I don't want, I know she won't do that, but I don't want her to hold this against me for years. She's already gonna be stressed and tired and worried and anxious and all the words you can think of to describe that. So, um, I
Well,
just,
I think you're very confident and brave for going through all this and for documenting it all and,
yeah,
taking new pictures all the way through it and everything. Before I asked you if you wanted to talk about this, I I wouldn't have asked if I thought it was going to be a negative experience for you, but I know I've seen several of your videos and you've been talking about it pretty openly and everything. So I thought it was okay to ask you, and of course you
that,
could have said no also. So I
right.
appreciate you though coming on and telling everybody about it. I think it's I definitely wouldn't have thought of everything you would have had to go through, from beginning to end. So I think it's good to show people who aren't familiar that, to kind of enlighten them on everything that some people have to go through when they do the FFS. So
Right.
I appreciate you coming on and talking about it.
Well,
But
thank
we're
God to always talk about it.
oh yeah,
I,
we're
I
coming up on an hour, so I just wanted to kind of get that out there and see if there's anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up.
Okay. Yeah, I do want to say first of all, thank you to Egg, and I will continue to say thank you to Egg. I'll get her on here again. We are going live the day before, so the 10th, we are going to go live, both Egg and I, and just talk about our nerves and everything that we have planned and how we're going to get there. So I do want to shout out Egg. She's a really big help. She's my wife. She's my spouse. She's my partner in crime. And both of us have been doing this for each other for, like I said, 23 years. That's a long time.
Yeah,
You know, uh, I would, you know, I 23 years later, and and we're still in love. So, what can you do? Like, what can you do? Like, it's, um, but yeah, shout out my voice coach, Woody. Woody is badass. His name is Woody Rule, by the way, and he works out of Northside Hospital, Atlanta. Um, Shout out to him because I love him. Shout out to my surgeon, who I'm not going to name now, but and I do have permission to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wait until the end, and then I will see if I can get all of them, the surgical team, everybody to say something. But I just want y'all to think about me on the 11th. If y'all pray, go ahead and pray. If you send shit up to the universe, send shit up to the universe. If you can't, stones, anything you do. If you practice E5, which I do, talk to your Orisha, talk to your Ori, do some Ebo, whatever you have to do to help me make it through. Yeah. And thank you, Brandy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I'm not doing much, but I I I do appreciate you coming on and talking, and I'm glad we had this chat.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you all out there for listening. Let's see. I
Yeah.
do great support, Eileen. I appreciate it. Um,
Yeah,
so
I couldn't imagine not having a partner to go through this with. To do it alone would just be, and there are probably people who do, but that would be so difficult.
yes, there are people who do, and it's crazy. The mental and physical fortitude to go through this alone is something crazy. I know one person who's done it, and praise her. But one other person I want to shout out is my bestie, Michelle Vigneault. She wrote a book called Hold Back the Rain, but that's not the point. The point is she's been my bestie, and we've known each other since high school, which was 1990, a long time ago. So, yep, 90s, last century. But
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, she's my bestie, and she will also be helping. So shout out to her.
Well, that's great. I'm really glad you have support, and I'm hoping everything goes the way you want it to.
Thank you
And
so.
we'll
Yeah.
be talk. We'll talk. I'm sure
Oh yeah.
during the next week before it happens, but
Yeah.
we'll be thinking about you and praying and all of that. So, um,
Wonderful. Thank
thanks
you.
for coming in. Thanks everybody in the chat who came in and supported Onyx. And I guess we'll talk to you probably Monday, maybe. I don't know, for trauma talk.
Definitely. Yeah. If you need someone to come on after, maybe I can do it after. I don't know. If do you have your whole December filled?
I don't have every day filled. No, there are definitely several days. This is definitely the fullest week I have so far. But I have a few people scheduled, and a couple people their schedules are up in the air, so haven't gotten them specific dates yet. But I'm gonna be talking to them to see when they can come on. One of them is out in the ocean, and
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know if you know Corey Vinny, but he and his husband they quit their jobs and they moved on to a sailboat with their cat, and they're out on the ocean.
Oh
So
wow. That would make
I'm
me
gonna be.
nervous,
I know, me too. Yeah. The
uh,
ocean. I don't know. That's a huge undertaking. But he's
right.
he's gonna come on with me sometime when he's able to.
Well, that
And
is I want to catch that for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. I've talked to him. Well, we collaborated on an article, and I've talked to him before. But he's a really nice guy. I think that would be cool. But
Okay.
anyway,
Yeah. Well, I will
so
communicate, because maybe at the end of December, I can kind of come on, by then you'll see
oh
my face.
yeah, yeah. And if it's we'll I guess take it as it goes. We'll see how you feel afterwards and everything. So no pressure at all. But if
Right.
you want to, yeah, that would be great.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Once again, just want to plug my site. It's onyxrose9.substack.com. I am on YouTube too, and it's youtube.com at onyxrose9. And basically, you can find me everywhere under Onyx Rose. On any of the socials, it's either 9 or 95 or Onyx Rose LB on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't really do plug any either of us, but yeah, if you haven't subscribed to Onyx Rose, please do so. If you're not a subscriber to me, subscribe and see the rest of my content. So thanks a lot. Thanks for
thank
everybody coming in, and I will talk to you soon.
Au
All right.
revoir, bientôt, and
Bye.
chicken grease.